Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you know, and welcome back to another video. I clearly just got done filming some cosplay stuff. I was filming some stuff for Maggie from The Walking Dead. So this is why I look like this. I'm not hurt. I don't normally look like this. This is just for a cosplay. Anyways, in today's video I wanted to do my January reading wrap-up. I do reading wrap-ups on TikTok, well my BookTok. And in my BookTok wrap-ups I sort of just show the books I read, and I wanted to start doing more wrap-ups on my YouTube channel this year because then I can like tell you my thoughts on the book that I read instead of just being like, I read these books. So I thought I'd start doing that more this year, so I'm starting with the first month of the year, January. I read a lot of books this month, but I read a lot of manga, so a lot of this is manga, and that's part of the reason why I read so much. And let's just crack on into this. The first book that I read in January was She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Alison. This is a sapphic romance set in college that is sort of enemies to lovers, but it's also more just like mutual hatred to lovers, because they weren't exactly enemies to start off with. I enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. I thought that it was really good, but I wasn't like super drawn in the beginning. This is one that you have to really like persevere through and then it will get better. It's not like amazing right off the bat. But I do recommend this one because I did really enjoy it, and Rachel Lippincott is one of the authors of 5 Feet Apart, in case that name sounds familiar. Next up, I read Attack on Titan Volume 8. So Attack on Titan is a manga series that I've been slowly reading for a really long time. I actually started this series and read to about like Volume 6, I want to say, back in like, geez, when I was in middle school, so like 2014-ish maybe. And I enjoyed it. I just lost steam because I stopped using the library as much, so I wasn't like going there every week to get new volumes of it. And I just decided I'm slowly going to work through the ones that I own because I bought a ton at Goodwill a while ago, and I'm gonna attempt to finish the series hopefully within the next year or two, because I find that when I'm reading a manga series and I put it on hold, I completely forget everything about it. So I'm trying to like get through this and not just pause midway. This series is sort of like a zombie apocalypse book, but it's titans instead. They're giants who eat humans, so it's pretty creepy and fun. I like how many plot twists are in this series. I love the action in this series. I love the characters. I do have some issues with this series, but this volume in particular was a 5-star read for me. Next up, I read Hunters of the Lost City by Callie Wallace. Hunters of the Lost City is a middle grade / young adult book. I would say it's bordering more on middle grade, but there is young adult themes occasionally throughout here. And this is a fantasy book in which there is this walled-in city and they think that it's the last city. However, this young girl named Octavia discovers someone else outside the walls, and it challenges everything that she thought she knew about the world. And I gave this one 2 stars, unfortunately. I liked the world, I liked the history, but I didn't like any of the characters, and I felt that the pacing was really slow. I feel like a book set in this world but focused on different characters and focused on a different main plotline would be more interesting. However, I can see why people would like this, just know that it is very, very slow. And then I read Attack on Titan Volume 9. This one was so good, 5 stars, so many plot twists in this one. I was fully shooketh. I was gasping for air. This volume was so good. And then I read No Time Like Showtime. This is by Michael Hoy, and this is the 3rd book in the Hermix Tantamuk Adventure series. And this series is about a bunch of rodents, and this main character is a watchmaker, but he keeps getting pulled into all these mysteries that he has to try and solve. I actually really enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars. I think there was something missing out of it, which is the way that I feel with most middle grade books, and this is middle grade. So this book wasn't like my favorite, but I did really enjoy it, and it was like a light, fun read that I sped through. I think I would have enjoyed this if I'd read it when I was much younger. The specific group of people that I'd recommend this book to is kids who are done with Geronimo Stilton and need something a little harder than Geronimo Stilton but aren't ready for really intense young adult books. This one would be an awesome read for those type of kids. The next one that I read was another Attack on Titan volume, and this was Attack on Titan Volume 10. I gave this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy this one. It had the biggest plot twist out of the series so far. Literally like trying to hold back screams as I was reading that part. However, there's a character that I really dislike that really gets on my nerves and annoys me, and that's Ymir. And Ymir is becoming like more of a main character in this volume. And I don't even know if I'm saying Ymir right. Y-M-I-R. Maybe it's, I don't know how else you'd say her name. But yeah, 4 stars. Good, but not my favorite out of the series. And then I read You Sexy Thing by Rambo. This follows a group of retired soldiers who own this restaurant and space. They think that they're settled down, they have plans for their future, they know what they're doing, they're going along in life, plugging through, having fun in their restaurant, when all of a sudden there's an explosion and they're pulled into a very intense adventure that they were not expecting. I enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars. However, it felt like a lot of just like waiting around for the final battle to happen, and I didn't like how it was just waiting along. There wasn't like things advancing the plot. I really liked the characters and the group dynamics in this book, but again, it was a lot of like waiting around, and I'm also not the hugest fan of really intense sci-fis. Like, it takes a lot of dedication to get through them, and so it took a lot of like effort to memorize everything about this world so I could fully understand the story. I would recommend this one if you're into sci-fi, but if you aren't into super hardcore sci-fi, I would not recommend this one. Also, despite what the cover says, you sexy thing, it isn't really sexual. There's one scene that is sort of adult, but it's not very detailed, and it's like literally 2 paragraphs. So don't worry if you're like a little younger and like, oh, this sounds inappropriate. Like, it's really not. The title is very deceiving. And if it was up to me, I would name this something different. Like, I don't know what I name it, but it just feels like it needs a different name because this name is very deceiving and doesn't capture what this book is actually about. And then I read Attack on Titan Volume 11. I gave this one 3 stars, unfortunately. So the series starts to get really confusing in Volume 11 and didn't make sense, and there's so many mysteries that they pose, but they don't answer any of the questions, at least not yet, and I've gotten pretty far in this series, and so I'm getting a little frustrated with so many like loose open-end mysteries that we need answers to, but they're not giving us answers to, and I'm getting really frustrated, but I really want to finish this series despite my frustration. And then I read a book called A Fair Warning. I'll include a picture of the cover somewhere around here. I read this via NetGalley on the Kindle app on my phone. A Fair Warning is about these 2 people who have always been like enemies, rivals, didn't really get along in school, and it's sort of enemies to lovers. It's very, very steamy, very explicit adult scenes, so keep that in mind. I did not enjoy this one. I thought that the writing was terrible. I thought that the relationship between the 2 lovers was extremely toxic, and I did not like either of the 2 people, and there's a lot of stuff that it was sexualized in that book that should never ever be sexualized. So I had a lot of problems with this book, as you can tell, and it was a 1-star read. I would never read this one again. Probably not gonna read anything by this author ever again. And then I read the final Attack on Titan volume that I own, so I actually need to go out and buy more Attack on Titan volumes. I read volume 12. This was another 3-star one. I had basically the same criticisms as volume 11. Part of me wants to like quit reading the manga and like watch the anime to get answers because I'm so like frustrated with not getting the answers, but I'm gonna keep pushing through. I really want to like read through this whole series, and I think I just need dedication and patience, and I think that it will get better because I really enjoyed some of the previous volumes in the series. It's just going downhill a bit. I'm hoping that we'll go back uphill and get better, but I don't know. This is my first time reading this far in this series, so yeah, hopefully it improves, but I don't know. And the final book that I finished this month was part of the Manga Classic series, and this is just a series, as the title suggests, taking classic books and turning them into a manga format. I actually prefer the Manga Classics to the original classics because I don't really get along well with classics. I find that they are very wordy and dull and boring, and I don't like Old English, and so I actually really like these Manga Classics because I'm getting filled in on the characters and the plot and everything about the classics without suffering through an actual classic. The Manga Classic that I read this month was Anne of Green Gables. I accessed this one via NetGalley as well. I gave this one 3 stars because I wouldn't say that it's the most interesting classic. If I were to rate it based solely on how the adapters took the original text and turned it into a manga, I would give it 5 stars. Like, beautiful drawings, really good translation from the book to the manga. However, I didn't like the main storyline of Anne of Green Gables. I actually found Anne to be really annoying at first. I mean, she grew on me by the end, but I wouldn't say that Anne of Green Gables is my favorite classic in terms of story, not in terms of like the actual like original text. So I wouldn't say that's my favorite, but it's not like awful. Like, I still enjoyed this Manga Classic. I just think that I would enjoy other ones better. Specifically, I read Jane Eyre a few months ago in the Manga Classics format. I love that one. Just Anne of Green Gables is in general a little bit of a slower story, and it's more like little snippets of her life put together to make one story instead of one unified plot. So yeah, those are the books that I read, and the book that I'm currently reading that I hope I will finish in February is Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. I have literally the worst edition of this book in the world. I have mass market paperback movie edition. But you know, I buy a lot of my books from Goodwill, and this was at Goodwill for like a couple bucks, so I had to get it. In case you don't know what a mass market paperback is, because I don't know if they have them in every single country. I hope they don't because I don't like them. But basically, this is a normal size book. See, like my hand for comparison. And then, see, they're tiny, and then it feels like there's more pages because it's all condensed, and there's 756 pages in this book. Yeah, it's not going to impact the story for me. It might impact my experience reading it because I'll have to be holding this like tiny thing and I might get a little frustrated with that, but I can still read the text, so I'll still be able to figure out whether I like this book or not, and I'm hoping that I will because I've liked all the other previous Twilight books. I'm a little worried about this one because I know of the specific thing that happens with Jacob in this one and I am not looking forward to that, but I still hope I enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me. If you haven't already, all of my other social media will be linked down in the description below, and as I said, I upload my reading wrap-ups for the month over on BookTok, and it's just like short and I just show the cover of the books I read, so if you're not really interested in like hearing my thoughts, you just want to see what I read, then definitely check out my BookTok at the end of every month. I hope everyone has a great February and I will see all of you in my next video. Until next time, goodbye!